Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody in person and such a great audience. Many people are coming still, so I will kick it off today. And first, I want to thank the team for inviting me to this presentation, to the event. I'm looking very much forward to also hear about latest innovation and also have discussions with hopefully many of you. I will speak about a topic of disruption. So as we were preparing for this event, we thought that would be a good idea to talk about, because probably every business, every organization is either facing some form of disruption. In the best case, you are disrupting yourself. In the worst case, you are being disrupted. So I want to start with talking about a few fundamentals about the dynamics of innovation and disruption from a slightly different perspective. And then I will touch about just only 5 top trends that we see in our industry at this moment. It's really hard to select only 5 trends because there's so much more going on, and we could talk probably for hours. But I chose those that I believe will affect most of us right now, and also these are trends where we can actually take action right now. And then I will end with a little outlook and some recommendations. So, the key question I would like to start with is, what is driving the adoption of innovation? Or in another word, a disruption, because an innovation usually comes with a disruption. Yeah? It's replacing something that has been there before, and sometimes it makes us nervous, it makes us uncomfortable, and we have to also put a lot of effort into change management activities to make sure that a new product is adopted. Now, when we take a look back a century, and we take a look at innovation we take for granted right now, you see an interesting pattern. So here we see products that came to the light, starting with the telephones, the cars, the radios, etc. And some of them took many, many years, even decades, to reach everybody. At the beginning, not everybody had a telephone. I certainly remember in my house where I grew up, I remember when we had a telephone, the first one. That was a big thing, right? Now everybody's running around with their own personal telephone. So we've come really a long, long way. Now when we take a closer look, you see that there's more and more innovation coming, but also these curves have a similar pattern. They look like an S form. And when I talk to startups, many startups would like to produce this S form with their business. But we can also see that these curves are getting steeper and steeper. So I want you to keep this picture in mind for now. And probably the biggest advances that we have seen most recently are in the area of the internet and everything that comes with the internet. Cloud applications, mobile applications, social media, which I will talk about in a moment. So the curves get steeper and steeper, which means innovation and disruption happens faster and faster and more. It hits us more heavily, so we need to be prepared for that. Now, I had a privilege of working with many startups. My first startup, as Zoran mentioned, was to work at Microsoft. When I started working at Microsoft, it was a very chaotic small company, like every startup. And I thought, this company will never going to be growing up and become a big enterprise. But it turns out it's still there and it's doing quite well right now. Actually, Microsoft has made a big turnaround in the recent years in the light of cloud computing, AI, and so on. But during my career, at one time, I was working with the Swiss Federal Department for Innovation, and we had 300, 400, 500 startups any given day going through the pipeline. The good news was there were a lot of great ideas. The sad news was that 80% of the projects did not make it. And for several reasons. This could be funding, team, technology, anything. But 20% took off and became so-called unicorns. And I see a similar pattern also in the corporate world, that some of the very well-intended initiatives are not going to make it. So in the best case, they run long, they take more budget than planned, and in a worst case scenario, we have to go back to the drawing board. So the question is, what is behind this pattern if we keep this accelerating pattern in mind? I want to talk about a little case study here, and probably you know this gentleman, Mark Zuckerberg. He also started with a small company in his student dorm. And at that time, people were wondering, what is this all about? Is there a market for such a product? Yeah. And now if you look at Facebook today, it's a company like those of many of your companies. It's a big enterprise. It runs an ERP. It's probably one of the largest artificial intelligence implementations we are seeing right now. It has many business solutions, for example, in the advertising business. And I found this interesting statistics, and this is actually also taken from a case study I'm teaching at the business school. And when you take a closer look at Facebook's trajectory, it seems to be going like a straight line. But if you look very carefully, they also went through these pain points. Nothing was happening for a long period of time. Then growth was accelerating, and then they are going into a stagnation. That was probably around the year, I would say 2012. You see that the growth rates, almost not visibly, but they started to slow down. And that's usually a warning sign to the company, to the CEO, and to the stock market. So what is behind this S-shaped growth curve? And I want to decompose that a little bit further because I think it's important for understanding some of our top trends right now. In this growth cycle of innovation and disruption, we typically have two phases. One is the phase of accelerating growth, where we see hypergrowth. It's an exponential growth. And then there is a sharp turning point somewhere in the middle where the two lines cross. And then we have a saturation phase, and that's typically hard. You probably know this when you are rolling out projects in your enterprise. There's a lot of excitement at the beginning, but the last mile is really difficult to get everybody on the bus, right? So we are interested in this blue curve, and from one of my specialty fields is teaching business dynamics or system dynamics. Now, when we take a look at that, we typically have these kind of structured feedback models. The only thing to remember on this model is there are potential adopters, so people we want to bring on the bus, and there are people who have actually adopted the solution. The key thing here is there are two major feedback loops in play. The green loop, which is the growth loop, is this positive reinforcing feedback loop that we want to kick off at the beginning to make sure the innovation is starting, is accelerating, and it's becoming a self-running project, so to speak. And the red feedback loop is something that we always struggle with because sometimes it takes forever to roll out a project or to implement the disruptive technology. Or we are surprised that we are running out of customers. And that happens with a lot of innovation projects still today. If you think about this, this looks like familiar. It looks like an infection process. Yeah? What is important in such a process? Getting people in contact, with the new idea, as early as you can, as many as you can, and to strengthen this, what we call the WOM, word of mouth promotion. So the more people are using Facebook, the more people started to use Facebook. That's how they got into this exponential growth curve. Yeah? And the second piece, the blue factor here, is the adoption. So how likely is somebody adopting this product? How likely is somebody to buying this product? Well, and the strength of the product depends on many factors. Not only a good look and feel, but also good usability, solid engineering, good quality control, trustworthiness. That's a big topic for Facebook in these days. Not only Facebook, many other companies as well. So the point here is that this structure is the basis that drives this S-shaped behavior. Yeah, that's kind of when we look at these new innovations, it is also driving this adoption stream, the flow of potential customers to actual customers, potential users to actual users. And one thing that is always surprising is this flow is also starting very slow. And then we have a lot of things to do. That's somewhere here in the middle of this chart. And at the end, it's slowing down again. What happens typically in companies when this process is starting, we see a lot of happy faces. Wow, this is taking off. This is working. This is accelerating. We are doubling. I remember my first time at Microsoft. It was amazing. So we were just amazed how many products, at that time it was units of Office and Windows, then Windows Server and server products, are being sold. So this is the excitement in the hypergrowth phase. But then when this turning point is setting in and we reach the maximum of our adoption flow, that's when we get really concerned, and then we are really disturbed when things are going downhill. Now, keep in mind this turning point period is a very small period in time, okay? So that's what we see as a lot of unpleasant surprises in enterprises when we suddenly have to figure out what are we doing next? Where is our next product? Where's our next innovation? And not many enterprises are still using continuous innovation. So they're planning in release cycles, and then it's important to deliver as fast as we can. A little fun fact here, in our systems lab, we look at these models constantly and try to calibrate the models to reality to see how we can use that. And you see here the actual data of Facebook follows pretty much exactly this growth trajectory. So we can use that as a digital twin simulation in better understanding how we can roll out products, how we can accelerate innovation. Now, the key question is, so what? What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with us, with our business? How can we take advantage of that? Well, first of all, it's really a matter of timing. Yeah? So when you believe you have just created a product, you have shipped a product, which is here the blue curve, then you almost need to start preparing your next generation product or have a continuous innovation process going on. Because if you're launching too late, the red product here, you are falling into this trap. And that's where a lot of psychological stress and panic starts in organization. And we ask, okay, where is the new product? When are we entering the new market? When can we expand globally with our products? Ideally, and this is the pattern that we see with companies like Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, others, probably some of your companies, is that we stack these S-shaped growth curves on top of each other. So we have a continuous pipeline and, of course, a continuous innovation and engineering, which is delivering continuous innovation and can boost our growth in the long run. A little fun fact, I just don't want to expand on that too much, but we ran a research project, a survey in the IT community, and we asked people to estimate what is happening in this fast-moving process. And the two main outcomes here were we tend to overestimate how quickly an innovation is getting traction. So we think there should be something happening tomorrow. But in fact, this really takes a long time. And secondly, we overestimate and we're too optimistic how much potential we have in the long run. So we think that there would be many more customers in our addressable market, but in fact, we already ran out of customers. And you can see here, this is an error by a factor of 5. So we believe we have 5 times more customers than we actually have. So important to keep in mind when we talk about disruption and the speed and the dynamics of innovation. As an interim conclusion, what are some of the key success factors here? So timing of innovation, having the data to power innovation, to select the right projects, select the right initiatives and change management activities, but also to have a high quality and a high agile development process. By development, I don't mean necessarily coding, but also product development, of course, system engineering, and so on. So far so good. In the second part, I want to touch just only these 5 trends, and I want to go into technical details. In the breakout sessions, you have a lot of great experts that will talk about some of the applications and opportunities in the areas. But I want to talk about AI, cloud, security, privacy, and of course, people, top talents, and workforce planning. So what's happening in the area of AI? Well, remember the adoption curves that we saw at the beginning, which sometimes take years or decades. Now, when we take a look at a phenomenon like recently ChatGPT, I guess pretty much everybody has heard about artificial intelligence. What we see there is the adoption curve is much steeper. So here we have 3 artificial intelligence products. The first one on the left is ChatGPT. It took only roughly a week or 2 to get 1 million users. It's highly infectious, so to speak. So many people want to play with that, want to work with that. And the more people are using, the more examples of applications we find, and the more people are using it. The other 2 are DALL-E, is an image creation product. Some of the images in this presentation I have created with that AI product. And Copilot is, let's say, a new technology that can boost productivity in office applications, in productivity applications, business solutions. I think we will see more and more in that area, but also for developers. Now, it's really amazing how fast this process works. Now, this is good news and bad news, because good news is we can do a lot of great things with that. The bad news is the opponents, when you think about security, can also do a lot of not so good things with that. So how can we make use of this? Well, first, if we take a look at how products are being engineered, a typical product, if you have an iPhone or any other Apple product, it's a very haptic experience. No? So you touch the iPhone, you touch the product, you pretty much know instantly what to do with it. A typical Google product looks something like this. There's nothing else but the search bar, but you pretty much know how to use it by now. Unfortunately, many of our business solutions, they look something like this today. So we have a lot of input fields, and if we contrast that again with ChatGPT and how we are interacting with a new artificial intelligence platform, it also looks again like this. The first time I started this, it reminded me of my very first computation experience. There was a product called DBase at the time, many, many years ago. And it looked something like this, but you never really knew what to put in there. It only gave you a cryptic error message, said syntax error. No? But here, with the new AI, you can start anywhere, and it will lead you to an interesting outcome. So, what can we do? Here are my top 3 recommendations for getting started with artificial intelligence. First of all is to look at our business and build the core data infrastructure. Because without being able to use and to mine the data, we will not get the full potential out of artificial intelligence. I think this is a really important step. And also, secondly, to invest in AI experimentation and in new skills such as how do I interact with this AI? How do I engineer a prompt so that I get a specific outcome? But then I think we are already at a step, and you see this innovation is happening now extremely fast, that many of the business applications from, let's say, larger vendors, but also custom applications can be empowered with artificial intelligence. And I think this is a very exciting moment, but we have to get the infrastructure right. Second big trend, which is still going on, is the cloud. Now, cloud is not new if you think about it. My first cloud experience was actually at this crazy startup, and we were pretty excited when we could download bits and bytes over the internet at the time. Now, this is commonplace today. And what happens in the cloud area is pretty interesting. This also follows an exponential growth trend. So more people are putting applications, data, storage in the cloud. And that is enabling them to get a new level of agility, a new speed, and taking cost out of the business. Yeah. So my top recommendations for cloud would be to consider this as one of the key levers in a way that it enables us to take cost out of the legacy business, supporting old applications, and reinvesting that money in innovation. So moving to the cloud is an important paradigm. And this can be a mixture of a public cloud, a private enterprise cloud, on-site, on-premise, or other forms, or hybrid forms, for example. And the cloud computing, I believe, is very tightly coupled also to new working models. Later today, you will hear something about new concept called DevOps, or development operations. And I think this is a great and fantastic way to accelerate development, accelerate innovation, and deliver this continuous innovation we talked about before. Trend number 3, security. Security is like an insurance. No? We really don't want to pay for this, but it really hurts when we don't have this insurance. And again, we need to keep in mind with the arrival of artificial intelligence, we also have to deal with new threat scenarios, new dangers, and with a new dynamic. Now, the life in security operations can be sometimes pretty boring. Nothing is happening, yeah, for a long time. So the security operation looks at their screen. They usually see a lot of attack, which are executed not by humans anymore, but by bots, by artificial intelligence. But then suddenly something is happening very dramatic. So within a few minutes or seconds, sometimes, it can turn the enterprise upside down. And this is just a snapshot I took from just a few days ago. This has happened what's normally is going on in the industry, but also in any given large enterprise. Now, when we are working with clients on using digital twin simulations, we are looking at what can we do in a security scenario. And only if we really understand how to protect and how to recover, we can move from this very dramatic red curve here, where you see you have a lot of incidents happen in a very short period of time, and it takes a long time to recover from that. Like in a ransomware attack, for example. It happens very quickly, but you have like days, weeks, months of cleanup and protection and recovery ahead of you. So the question is, how can we move from this very dramatic scenario to something where we can be a little bit more relaxed and have peace of mind in our operations? So I would also encourage you to take a look at the presentations today. And for me, the key question is really, how can we outsmart the competition? It's like this Tom and Jerry race, no, that you may remember, or any other kids movie where the cat is trying to find and catch the mouse, and the mouse is always outsmarting the competition. Now, there are many levers here. We can use AI, but really, for me, the most important lever is quality and security by design. So starting from the beginning. You don't want to be in a situation where you have to recover, because that is slowing down our operations for a potentially long period of time, and it costs a lot of money. It's better to put that money into quality and engineering. Privacy, a second to last trend here in our little journey. Now, privacy is not only a matter of telling our customers, yeah, your data are in good hands. The new paradigm in privacy is that customers have a choice to consent to the data usage or not. In the European Union in 2018, a new law was issued, the GDPR law, which is basically requiring all organizations and all companies, regardless if they're based in the EU or not, to comply with this and offer a choice of consent. So giving approval, yes, you can use my information for specific purposes. I took this chart from one of our projects that we are working on, and you can see two interesting things here. One is about a third, or a little bit more than a third, of customers say, I don't want to give my information. That means this information that you collect, or you should not collect, you also cannot use it for sales, marketing, communication purposes. No? I think this is still not clear for a lot of companies. And this is, by the way, it's not only the European Union. The same thing happens now in Brazil, in China. Switzerland just issued a new law in September, and it looks like this will be a common practice. The other thing here is you see this dip on this chart, and that's where typically our colleagues in sales and marketing get very nervous, because a 20% drop in consent rate directly translates into a profit decrease. Yeah? So we have to think about how do we work with privacy centricity in our operations. Similar to security by design, we also need to think about privacy by design. Yeah? So giving the choice, making sure that we, across the different journeys, across the different platforms or channels that we manage, we can manage a seamless privacy experience for the customers. And one of the practical things that we can do again here is also to create the infrastructure to enable this now or in the future. Many companies are now moving to the cloud, implementing their so-called CDPs, their customer data platforms. And I think this is something that we need to look even closer. But also we need to understand how we can optimize this and how we can bring the data into our dashboards. If I see a 20% drop in consent rates, that should already issue an improvement project. So we need to get this into our management dashboards and so on. Last topic. Last but not least, probably the most important topic for most of us are talent and the workforce. Now, we have seen a pretty disruptive time during the pandemic, and it looks like many people are and many organizations are recovering from that. But when you take a look at how many people are still searching for remote jobs, that seems to be a trend that is sustaining over some time. Now, the question for us in this industry is, how can we empower and enable people who are not coming to the office every day, who may not even be part of our core organization, but our supply chain partners, our development partners, and so on. So, in this category, my 3 recommendations to look into this are, first, to use AI to and further enhance the productivity tools. And productivity tools means office, business applications, document management systems, invoicing systems, and so on. HR operations, but also enabling the remote workforce with high-performance computing. So we see that the workforce is expecting the same experience regardless if they work in the company or on the company premises or from a customer side or from their home office. So we have talked a lot about AI, and I'm coming to the conclusion now. Often we discuss what is the limits of AI. Of course, there are some ethical limits, there are some physical limits, but there's also the question which jobs are being dramatically impacted, and what is it that we need to keep in our hands. And here's a short list of what I believe we still need to keep in check. One is quality control, and so even if AI gives us an answer, we always need to respond with critical thinking. Is this correct? Can this be true? Or should I use more information for my decision? Sourcing and creative imagination. Even though AI can produce something, you still have to do the imagination job yourself. You need to say, what do you want? Regardless if it's a picture or a piece of code that you can produce. And of course, the trusted customer experience and empathy in the customer experience. Internally, between the delivery partners, but also externally in our daily interactions with each other as customers and suppliers. So, in conclusion, I think it's very clear that we are just at the beginning of a massive shift in the industry, in the economy, and in many parts of our daily life. And I would encourage you to look at this from what we call a discovery-driven perspective. So we don't know yet everything that is happening, but we should start testing it out, trying it out, making conscious decisions, setting up pilot projects, and see how we can use this for business model innovation and technical innovation. And sooner or later, we can make choices about reallocating our resources towards this new way of working. With that, I would like to invite you to discover new possibilities during this day and beyond. And I am also very keen on looking at the innovation, many innovative topics in the breakout sessions today. With that, I wish you good luck. Thank you for your attention, and I will be here the whole day, so if you have something to discuss, we can grab a coffee in the breaks. Good luck.
Thank you, Thomas.